All right, welcome back to OpenLine on News Channel 5 Plus. I'm Matthew Torres. Here with me today is a member of the Beacon Center of Tennessee, someone that people that we have really covered with on numerous occasions. Now, I know this. What you're going to say next, I feel like is people are not going to like it. But as far as we want to at least hear from your side on not necessarily ESAs, but vouchers in general, and the idea that, in your opinion, it is working, at least in other parts.
Sure. I mean, vouchers and school choice are not new ideas.
Oh.
They've been around for a while now. ESAs are the cutting edge, but vouchers and school choice have been around a while. The state of Florida has a very, very robust school choice program. In fact, I believe Miami-Dade County, it's something like 70% of the parents do not go to the school, do not send their kids to the school in which they are zoned. And Miami-Dade County is also the highest performing urban school district in the country. And of course, I don't have to tell you that Miami-Dade County is also a very diverse place, full of people of different walks of life and different income brackets. And that really is puts to bed the notion that school choice is in some way bad or doesn't work or doesn't help the educational needs of the students. It certainly has in Florida, and I think that there's a lot of data out there that would suggest that this doesn't just help the parents who use the program, but also the people who are already in the schools and remain.
The Metro Director, Bob Cooper, law, said the lawsuit violates the state constitution and the Equal Protection Clause and the legislature's mandate to support a system of free public schools. The Equal Protection Clause, truly, I'm not quite aware. I'll be honest with that. What is he referring to?
Well, what he's referring to is that he is saying that there isn't any reason to single out or to treat Nashville differently from the other school districts in the state. But of course, those are the two largest school districts, and those are also the two that consistently perform poorly compared to other city schools. And so naturally, they're the ones that were targeted for the pilot program, which is supposed to give lower income families access and a way out of the failing public school systems.
Should the local officials then have say?
Well, they do have a say. They're vested in the educational policy that we have, but ultimately all localities are only administrators of state policy, and it behooves the state to try and help Tennesseans when the localities are doing a poor job of administering the school system. And it was a good program, and I fully support the idea that parents should be the ones that should have a final say about where their kids go, not local elected politicians.
But truly for you, what do you think is the future of ESA when you have this lawsuit? Will it go on?
Oh yes, I mean courts have almost the track record of litigation against school choice is exceptionally poor. That's the reason why you're hearing about Tennessee state constitutional law provisions and not First Amendment Establishment Clause. Those are the well-beaten path that enemies of school choice have used before, and those have consistently failed. And so the courts have not looked particularly favorably on challenges to school choice.
Again, if anyone has questions or comments, 615-737+. One in particular we had earlier is I believe she was a Metro school teacher. Is there a sticking point that you can say to convince someone to say, you know what, all right, go ESA?
Well, I mean, I think what I would say is that ultimately, why would you ever want to override a parent's choice? Wouldn't you agree that a parent is the one best in a position to say what is in the needs of their child? Why would we ever override that and insist that you owe a special duty to send your child to a school in which they're not going to flourish? I think every parent can get behind that. And I know that there's an understandable fear of something new. But we know, I mean, one of the remarkable things is regardless of what your views are on educational policy, everyone seems to agree that the status quo is unsatisfactory. And everyone seems to be looking for something new. So let's not just keep trying to do the same thing with more money. Let's try and do something fundamentally different. And I actually think that that is good for not just people who are going to use the program. It's good for people in existing schools, but it's also good for parents. We have overcrowded schools. Convincing some of these people to take some of their tax dollars and go and leave some of their money behind is really a much better way of doing it than raising property taxes, in my opinion.
Can you elaborate on what the home rule is in regards to the Constitution? Because that is what the lawsuit is alleging is it violates. The ESA violates.
Yes, what that means is they're referring to the portion of the Constitution that forbids local legislation, or that is a singling out of one county alone. But we haven't singled there. There hasn't been one single county singled out. There's two, and it's a pilot program, and so therefore it is aimed to start small.
And have you, as a group, have been in touch with the governor at all?
I have not been in contact with the governor. I'm just a lawyer, and I do all my talking in the courtroom.
And is it Bria Davis? Bria Davis. Where did she grow up? And I'd like to learn more about her personally as well. And where did she go to school? I'm curious to know about.
She's a product of Nashville Public Schools, and she's someone that has grown up in the system and wants better for her child. 2 children is what she has, and she has just tried to work within the Metro Nashville public school system, and she thinks they can do better, and Lighthouse Christian gives her that ability to do so without any cost to the taxpayer and without any cost to her.
All right, we have a caller. Let's go to our caller. Hey, thanks for calling. What is your name and question?
My name is David. My question was, this is for Davidson or for Rutherford also?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Oh my God. I was asking the question if this includes Rutherford or this is just for Davidson, or this program is it for the whole Tennessee?
Oh, got it. So I think I think I heard Rutherford.
Okay. It is not available in Rutherford. Right now it is only available in Davidson and Shelby County.
It sounds like she might be interested.
She should be interested, and if she is, feel free to reach out to beacontn.org. You can go to our webpage and just start looking at our issues for school choice, and you can contact us, and we have information on there about the program.
Can anyone from outside Davidson or Shelby County do anything more? I know it's really kind of the state's decision.
Not under the existing program, but of course there's no reason why that legislation could not, if proven to be successful, be expanded as it needed to be.
Are you surprised, at least with the last session, that it was such a slim margin of it passing?
Well, I'm not surprised because it is something that's new, and the status quo always rattles people, or the people are invested in the status quo, and change sometimes is unsettling. But these programs have never been implemented in Tennessee, but they've been implemented nationwide, and as we talked about earlier, they've got a really strong track record of success. I say with utter confidence that when given a chance to be implemented and produce data in Tennessee, it's going to show good results.
I know I might kind of take a big switch here. I know we've talked about ESA for the past almost 40 minutes. For you as the Beacon Center of Tennessee, I'm going to open this up. Are there other topics that you guys are working on that you feel like should have the attention of more people?
Well, we always work on a lot.
You're like, hold on, let me take out my list.
We're always up to something at the Beacon Center, but educational choice is a big priority for us. Along those lines, we also work for transparency in public school education too. So this runs parallel to the ESA litigation, but in December, we represented a Williamson County mother who was seeking to find out more information about the entity that trains school board members. And even though that entity is statutorily mandated to do all of the training for school board members in the state of Tennessee and gets 90% tax dollars, that entity told her that they were not susceptible to public records requests. Now, this is a mother that just wants to know more about what's going on with the people who train the people.
Just out of curiosity, or was there like an incident that spawned this?
Well, I think that like a lot of mothers, she grew frustrated with the public school system as well. Now, she was like me. She had the ability to take her kids out of public schools and just did. But I think she's still very engaged on the issue, and I think she wanted to know more about why some decisions were being made in public schools. And when she learned that there's an outside entity that gets 90% of its money paid for by taxpayers, and it's got a statutorily mandated role to train all the school board members of the state, she thought, well, maybe they can tell me a little bit about what I'm looking for.
Right.
But since they're organized in a nonprofit group, they told her they didn't have to answer.
And what is your response to that?
We filed a petition on her behalf in the Chancery Court of Davidson County, seeking to have them declared a functional equivalent of government and therefore susceptible to public records requests.
What do you think she might find out? I guess what's the point of not providing?
Right. I mean, you know, I think that when you've privatized a fundamentally public role, a public job, a governmental job, that is, how do you train school board members? Who knows what we'll find in there? And to me, it's actually somewhat immaterial. I don't particularly care why somebody wants to know, but the point is that everyone has their own priorities, and transparency fulfills a vital role in public debate. Look, what's important to you might not be important to me at all, but I think that you should have the right to be well armed by when you go into the debate and know what governmental officials are up to.
Has this mother reached out to the school board members, and have they been open to say, hey, you know, if I can get the training manual, let me just give it to her?
Well, I think that was actually the initial frustration, is she had been dealing with school board members for a long time and had gotten the impression that she was just being managed, you know, like she was not getting satisfactory results, that she was just a problem that they would allocate time to and then shuffle her out the door. And so I think she decided she would have a different approach, and rather than talk to the school board members, she talked to the people who direct educational policy by training the school board members and find out that way.
What do you think it says, and what do you think it may leave, what kind of lasting effect it may leave when you have, I guess, this entity, a nonprofit entity, going through this really next step to prevent, I guess, providing this information?
Well, every debate starts with transparency and getting the facts. And so I think we can all, regardless of where you stand on a lot of our educational debates, we will all benefit when all the facts are on the table. So transparency is just a good thing, regardless of where you stand on the various debates. But this is an issue that transcends just educational policy, because there's all sorts of entities out there that occupy a quasi-governmental role but are organized as nonprofits. So take your economic development groups, take TSSAA, which manages high school sports, take private prisons. All of these are doing governmental functions but have been given that to a private company by dint of government law or some other regulation. But they're not susceptible to the same transparency laws that governmental agencies are. And in courts increasingly over the last 10 years have said, no, if you're going to be fulfilling a public role, then you owe this public the same duty of transparency.
So I would think, since they are dealing with schools, that it kind of puts them into that public umbrella.
Yeah, I mean, alongside with prisons, I think schools are one of those quintessentially public roles. And if you're going to have a statutory preference saying you train school board members, then there's a very strong case that you are a functional equivalent of government.
Braden, we're going to talk about this. In fact, we might do a story about it.
Okay, great.
We might do a story about it. But we will divert back to ESAs and why he is in support of this and why he is fighting for parents. Again, 615-737+. We'll have much more after the break.